Hello, my friends. This is Dan and Margie from the Gen-Xers.
And this is the review about nothing.
All right, Margie, there's a lot of classic Seinfeld episodes. The chicken roaster, the contest, the opposite, where George does the opposite of everything he was going to do. Even the final season, season 9, which Larry David I don't think had a whole lot to do with, there's some great stuff. There's The Voice. Serenity Now.
Yeah.
Serenity now! Serenity now!
But the finale, titled The Finale, was met with a lukewarm, at the very best, response. In fact, Entertainment Weekly, bastion of journalism, the magazine of record, Ken Tucker called the episode off-key and bloated, and Larry David has defended it over the years, but even Jerry has been like, it was not the best, right? So a lot of people saw the reunion in Season 7 of Curb Your Enthusiasm as a kind of do-over because most of them weren't happy with it. I think even Julie Louis-Dreyfus has put it down a few times or whatever.
Thanks for letting me take part in another hugely disappointing series finale.
And recently, Jerry Seinfeld has hinted that there might be more to come. So we thought we'd go back, look at the finale of Seinfeld, and see if it's as bad as we remember in this episode of Disappointments of Our Youth.
Disappointments of our youth.
Something is going to happen that has to do with that ending. It hasn't happened yet.
All right, Margie, let me take you back to May 14th, 1998. We were there. I remember.
Remember that?
Do you remember?
I do remember.
Watching it, yeah. One of 76 million viewers, which is probably about what we're going to get for this video.
Right.
I think.
Roughly.
Yeah, so you're making history right now, people.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Also, hit like and subscribe too, please, while
Yes.
you're being one of the 76 million.
If we get 76 million like and subscribes, I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
We might do a little special video.
We'll be happy with that for now. All right. Here's the rundown. Jerry and George find out that their sitcom, Jerry, is going to be picked up. This is a throwback to an earlier season, I believe, when it almost got picked up, but some things happened as usual to the gang, and it did not happen. So they get use of a private plane, and they decide, one last hurrah, we're going to take it to Paris, France. On the way over there, Kramer starts jumping up and down, trying to get some water or something out of his ear, crashes into the pilot or something. I don't know, it don't matter. Plane starts going down. Elaine and Jerry almost confess their love to each other, but they don't because it levels out. They land in Latham, Massachusetts, where they watch stand-up comedian John Pinette be mugged. Instead of helping, they mock the poor fellow for being a bigger guy. And for doing so, they're arrested on the Good Samaritan law.
Which has just taken effect in that town.
Was that a real thing? I can't remember. Was that a real thing back then?
You know, I remember it being talked about.
Some people were trying to do it.
I remember Good Samaritan laws being talked about, and there are a few on record, actually.
Some people call it the Phil Collins law because he watched that guy drown and didn't do anything about
Right.
it.
You know, Congress sprang into action.
They did. They were like,
After
we
that.
can't let another Phil Collins incident go by.
Said,
unnoticed.
we gotta pass some laws.
So they go to court and they get put on trial for their character. And at this point, it becomes a clip show. Pretty typical of finales back then. And so it's a parade of guest stars everywhere, from Putty to the Soup Nazi to the Costanzas, played by the great Jerry Stiller and Estelle Harris, who were the best. Just the best. The Seinfeld, Newman, etc., etc., etc. All right. They end up going to jail. Jerry does a little routine at the end that's kind of funny. But what did you think of the overall episode, huh?
I thought, you know, of course, it was. Well, not of course. I'm going to say it was kind of exclusive where it really didn't need to be. It was almost like an episode that you get, like they do now for Patreon. If you're a super fan, you get this extra special little content.
Sure.
Well, we had been with Seinfeld all of these years, and I think they made it more exclusive than it needed to be. Unless you knew these characters, unless you kind of knew the backstory, you didn't know what was going on. It was literally a parade of people going in and out of the courtroom and testifying against the Seinfeld gang, who were all portrayed as a little bit meaner and just a little bit meaner than they usually are. Even though they're absolutely mean and horrible people at times, just like we all are.
Sure.
But it was really more of an emphasis on that those parts of their personality rather than any of the funny, the lighthearted, the goofy, the let's have fun parts.
Said the reason that he did that episode, what he was doing with that was listening to the critics, because the critics constantly were doing all these pieces about the end of Seinfeld and how these are bad people. It's a show about people who are selfish and who are bad. And he listened to that and he goes, well, then if they're bad people, there needs to be redemption. We need to punish them. And so he wrote this whole finale based on what critics were saying. When he looks back and he goes, really, they're just people. Comedy is selfish.
I agree. The tone seemed a little bit off, at least from what I remember. Like, I mean, they're very shallow for some. They're beloved for being shallow. That's part of the charm of the show.
Right.
Is that there's no morals and no lessons. And then all of a sudden, in the final episode, there kind of is. They're going to go to jail for all their misdeeds. It's just kind of weird. And they do come across as meaner than usual, I guess. Or at least unlikable, which I never found them shallow, yeah, but not really unlikable, because they were all funny, but...
I think you hit upon it. I think that's really what bothered me about it. Not that they were mean, because they were sometimes mean in their shows. Sometimes they'd, make fun of the larger person who's being mugged or, whatever. But yeah, that they were unlikable while they were being their regular selves.
If it was your first introduction to Seinfeld, you'd definitely wonder what all the hubbub was about, because it's really not one of the best episodes. We didn't laugh very much.
No.
Kind of a stinker, but I mean, I haven't watched a lot of Seinfeld in a long time, so I honestly don't know how well it holds up. But last time I watched a couple episodes, I thought they were still funny.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I know back in the day, I really loved it. But
I know one of my favorite episodes was the Festivus episode.
That's a great episode.
It spurred a whole national movement.
Yeah, sometimes we celebrate Festivus now.
Yeah. The airing of grievances.
Margaret's got a lot of grievances.
I do.
And then she pins them in, it's over. Not my favorite. All right, so what would you give it?
Let's see. I would give it the finale itself, not the entire series, of course. Sure. Love the series. The finale itself, I would give a 2.5 Festivus polls out of 5 Festivus polls.
Yeah, I'm right there. Yeah, it's about a C. It's not the worst finale ever, but
certainly not the best.
Certainly not the best.
No.
It's unmemorable, is how I would put it.
It is. Yeah.
All right. Let us know in the comments what you think, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Later, taters.
Bye, guys.